Good morning. I am John Mutchler, the pastor of the Ferndale Alliance Church. Thank you for joining us today as we start a new verse from a part of the Bible called the Beatitudes. And that is just a fancy word for saying a list of blessings. And these are by Jesus. In chapter 5, verse 9 of Matthew, he says this: "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." That has got to be one of the most popular verses ever used by politicians, presidents, world leaders. You've heard it before. Blessed are the peacemakers. But before I unpack that verse a little bit, I just want to make a general comment about these verses in Matthew chapter 5. They are all very short and compact, and there's not a lot there, so we have to sort of expound upon it. I mean, they're very short. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those that mourn. Blessed are those that are pure in heart. And then our verse today, blessed are the peacemakers, because they will be called children of God. They're meant to be unpacked. It's much like, I think, like the universe in creation and the Big Bang Theory that teaches us that the entire universe was compacted into a small space of great mass called the singularity. Creation happened, the Big Bang, and then it's all out there. I think this verse is much the same. So many countless people have tried to explain it, have applied it, have taught it. It's all over the place. And we need to recognize that we are influenced in our explanation, our exposition of these verses by our time, our context, and our experiences. For example, think about this verse, blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the peacemakers. Had I explained it back when I was growing up in 1968, big watershed year in our country. We had two really significant assassinations, Dr. King and Senator Kennedy. We had the 1968 Democrat presidential convention in Chicago, which is chaos. Just Google it, just look at the pictures. We also were at the height of the Vietnam War. We were at a crossroads. We had a divided country. It was very difficult. And so using that verse then might have been a lot different. So here we are today. 2020. We have a global pandemic that's threatening the health of countless people. We are on the verge of an economic catastrophe that could bring about a reversal of a recent trend that had been lifting people out of poverty on a regular basis in great numbers worldwide. That could be reversed by this. We have seen the curtailment of some of our enjoyed freedoms. We can't travel. I live 20 minutes from Canada. I love going to British Columbia. I can't go up there right now. You can't get on an airplane right now for the most part. You can't go anywhere. There's no place to go. We're sort of locked up in our homes and our communities. This is a different time in which to interpret a verse like this, and we just need to recognize that. Another interesting thing, which I think is a blessing and a cursing, the internet. I am glad this happened, if it's going to happen today in 2020, with the ability that we have to communicate to one another like I'm doing right now to you. But we also have this thing that I learned about this year called clickbait. If you don't know what that is, you might ask the question, how do people make money on the internet? It's when we click on certain things that lead us to pages with advertising, and those advertisers pay for that content. And clickbait people have discovered that we click on things that are most controversial, most full of conflict, most full of chaos. That's what we do. It feeds on that part of our nature, that part of our nature that slows down when we go by a car wreck. Because we would much rather watch videotape of car crashes, road rage, and high-speed chases than observing a calm, steady flow down Main Street of traffic. We would much rather view two angry mothers fight over the last toy du jour at Walmart on the shelf than observing children and families enjoying a quiet, peaceful park. And we much rather watch neighbors fighting over backyard noise than just viewing a quiet cul-de-sac with birds singing. We watch it. We click on it because we're suckers and we fall for it. And sometimes, unfortunately, because it feeds our nature, and then we take the next step, we participate in it. And I watch it too. I watch things online, and sometimes afterwards I feel like I've got to take a shower. And I scratch my head, and there are people, and I hope it's a minority of people that are simply ugly and toxic and mean-spirited online. I'm not quite sure why, but I think this all feeds a part of our nature that's not very, very healthy to us. And by the way, I'm going to give you a secret. I was the mayor of Ferndale for 4 years, and we hired people, we recruited people, we appointed people to boards and commissions. We always checked people's social media pages to see how they treated each other. So just think about that for a second, and think about that. And that in and of itself may be the best reason to not be so toxic online. And I'll issue this challenge. I've always known and thought that anything I write on the internet is permanent and forever. And I've always tried to be cautious with my words. And if you ever see me say something that's inappropriate, untrue, caustic, toxic, mean-spirited, you have my invitation to tell me. I'm not perfect, but I've tried very hard online to be above reproach. I want to end with a verse in the Bible. It's Galatians chapter 5. Here's my point. We're going to talk about what it means positively to be a peacemaker. But we're going to begin with this presupposition. We have a natural bent toward conflict. We're selfish. We have a sinful nature. We want what we want, and we sometimes don't care what other people want. And so Galatians chapter 5 has a list of characteristics of people who don't understand spirit, don't understand the virtues of the Christian life, and they default towards a more fleshly, a more sinful part of living. And here's a list of those characteristics. I'm going to emphasize the ones that I think deal with this idea of not being peacemakers, of being people of conflict. It says the acts of the human sinful nature are obvious. And here's a big list here. Sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery. Debauchery is the overuse or misuse of things that hurt us. Drink, drugs, things like that. Idolatry, witchcraft, and here's a list I want us to think about. Hatred. This is the natural part of man that comes about when we don't have spirit. Hatred. Discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions, and envy. Drunkenness, orgies, and the like. And this ending here is powerful. Paul says, I warn you. Paul says to the church at the time, I warn you, as I did once before, that those who live like this will not inherit the kingdom of God. So I want to close with some online tips. Again, it saddens me, people that I know and love, and some of the words that come out of their mouths, regardless of what side of an issue they're on, left, right, red, blue, doesn't matter. It concerns me. So here are some tips. Take them or leave them. Online tips, but these also apply to personal interactions. Discuss. Don't demonize. Explain, but don't insult. Make it about policies, not personalities. Assume shared goodwill. That is, assume that both sides want what's best. Assume goodwill, not hostile intentions. Don't begin by assuming that the other person in their heart wants something bad. They simply are trying to they simply have chosen a different way to resolve a problem. Find common ground, not focus on points of conflict. So just some suggestions and advice. And one more bit of advice. Make sure you can articulate your opponent's position in such a way that they would say, that is exactly what I believe. You get it. Do you understand that? We oftentimes demonize people by taking the most extreme of positions on both sides and saying, that's what you believe in. No, that's not what we believe in. Have the skill, the intelligence, the maturity, the graciousness to be able to articulate your opponent's position in terms that they would say, you get it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for viewing, and feel free to share these videos. I look forward to next time when we will unpack the verse, Matthew 5:9. Blessed are the peacemakers, because they will be called children of God. God bless you and have a great day.